Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually going to be doing my first ever book review and I'm really excited about it. I've been wanting to get into reviewing books, but I didn't really know where to start. I mean, I can talk about books forever, but I sort of wanted to structure my reviews and I wasn't really sure how to do that. And I recently saw a video by Ashley from Climb the Stacks, and I'll put it right here and also in the down bar if you want to check that out. If you're interested in reviewing books on your channel, this is a great place to start because she gives a lot of good tips on the sort of questions to ask yourself to help you better review a book. So, with all that said, let's get into my first ever book review. So the book I'm going to be reviewing today is called Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. And this was actually sent to me by Putnam through the Birchbox book club. I don't know why that's such a mouthful to say. I had seen where they were giving away copies of this book for their book club, so I looked the book up on Goodreads and I was interested. The storyline sounded like something I would like, so I decided to, you know, take my chances, send a tweet and see if I got it, and I was picked and they sent me this book. And I read it, participated in their book club tweet along or whatever with the author, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that aspect of interacting with other readers afterwards, because it's been a long time since I've been a part of or, you know, participated in any kind of book club. So anyways, so that's how I discovered this book, and it's funny because I don't think that in the last probably 2 years I've read a lot of things that don't fall into the historical fiction category or things like that, classics and all of that. So for me to pick up a contemporary, I have to really be interested in the plot. And just by reading the summary of this book, I thought it would be something that I would really like. So I went into this book sort of not really knowing a whole lot about the author for sure, her writing style, anything like that. Which is always a big deal for me. If I don't like an author's writing style, then I'm not going to make it through a book, because if I don't relate to their characters or I don't relate to their writing style, then I usually don't find the books all that interesting, or I find them slow or hard to read. This book, not like that. I flew through it. It's definitely a page turner and a good, I want to say light read, but not really, because the subject matter of this book is definitely heavy. I was really excited when I started reading it because one of the things that I really love in a book is when they start out with some sort of foreshadowing about what's going to happen or about what the big ending is going to be. And this one starts out where you sort of learn that something has happened at trivia night. We don't know what trivia night really is, like the context around it. We don't know these people that are sort of being talked about in the first chapter or the prologue. And then when we start piecing the puzzle, or putting the puzzle pieces together slowly, because the beginning of certain chapters will say, you know, 6 months to trivia night, 5 months to trivia night, 2 weeks to trivia night, the day before trivia night. And so we know we're counting down to this night when something happens. But throughout the months or the chapters leading up to this, we start to learn more about the characters involved and their relationships to one another, as well as their personal relationships. And I just thought that was really interesting, the way that, you're building up to this big event or this big happening. And the other thing that it does is you find out shortly after the book, and this isn't really a spoiler because I want to say you find out in the second or third chapter, that somebody's dead. We don't know who, we don't know how, and it's interesting because it's told in a way that, let me see if I can actually find so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's just like the chapters, and then you'll have near the end, sometimes they're at the beginning, these sections where there's a name and then there's just a paragraph, and it'll be a bunch of little sections. And that is our little blurbs of these characters being interviewed by a detective. And so we're hearing, so the story is being told leading up to trivia night with these blurbs at the end or the beginning of the chapter that relate to the things in that chapter but are after trivia night. So it's sort of like a dual perspective in that, like a dual time perspective. And so it sort of helps you put the pieces together, but it also sort of confuses you because it's like you start to think you know what happened, but then you aren't sure because then they'll say something else to the detective and you'll be like, but wait. And so that's really interesting to me. I liked that dynamic in it. So this book definitely had characters that were super relatable, and it was a page turner. It was one of those books that I just like tore through chapters. I couldn't stop reading. I didn't want to put it down. I read it fairly quickly, and I almost want to say that it's a great light read, quick read, but it's not really a light read because some of the core issues in the book are really sort of hard and difficult things to read about. And I think that Liane Moriarty did a great job in dealing with those issues because while it was difficult to read sometimes, as far as like you just were so heartbroken, at the same time it was relatable and it was honest and it was open and it made you really think about people around you. Because two of the main issues in the book, or at least in my opinion, are sexual assault and domestic violence. And they are talked about in a way that it's like you're really getting the perspective of someone who's been through that. And it's heartbreaking because you feel so sorry and so upset for the person, for the character, but at the same time you just want to shake her and just be like, you need to get out of this. And it's just, but it's so honest. And that's what I really appreciated about it, is that sometimes it hurt my heart to read, but I knew that, you know, it was being written about in such an honest and open way. And while those are the main sort of issues I felt like were really, you know, central to the plot, they're not everything. Like, the whole book is not just about that. It also is about relationships and friendships and the dynamic of an elementary school. And it was funny and it was heartbreaking and it was frustrating. It was so good. These characters I walked away feeling like I knew them, or feeling like they were people that I knew, which is always a great feeling in a book. And that really was what made me want to read more of her books, because I love when an author can create characters that you either want to be friends with or that are just like people you're friends with. And they say things that you would say. And I thought that it was a great, well-written book, and I thought that it dealt with some really hard issues in a very honest and open way. And it was just, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So I would absolutely recommend it to anybody who is just looking for something that they can fly through as far as reading. And if you are looking for a book that's really going to make you think, because I don't think that I have ever read anything that dealt with domestic violence in such an open and honest way, and that made you really consider what someone goes through, and that the people around you may not be what you think they are, and that they may be dealing with things that you can't even imagine them dealing with. And that was fascinating to me, because I think that we all need to think a little bit sometimes about our perception of people based on the way they look, based on the way they act, based on their Facebook profiles. It just was very interesting and very eye-opening in a way. So yeah, I think that it's definitely a book that anyone could really get into and enjoy, especially if you like contemporary. It's definitely a good one to pick up and read. And it looks like a pretty big book, but I guarantee you will not be able to put it down. So yeah, I would love to hear what you think of Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. And if you've read anything else by her, let me know what you think I should read next. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.